I'll warn you before we start. Mexico is much stranger than you imagine. There are 32 states in our country, and each one hides a fact so surprising it seems taken from a movie. So get ready, because in this video, we will discover that same fact from each state of Mexico, and by the time we reach the last ones, you may start to see the map of Mexico in a completely different way. 32. Aguascalientes, the forest that gives water in the middle of the desert. La Pona is an urban mesquite forest that acts as a large natural rainwater collector in a region with scarce rainfall. It infiltrates and recharges the aquifers that supply the eastern zone of the city, as well as contributing to thermal regulation and carbon capture amid the dry and hot climate. Its conservation has sparked debates against urban expansion, demonstrating its vital environmental value. What's astonishing is that this protected forest is one of the last remnants of the original landscape of Aguascalientes before the arrival of colonizers. Where La Pona now stands, there used to be numerous springs and natural watercourses. It remains a refuge that allows millions of liters of rainwater to recharge annually into the subsurface, something key in a state that literally carries waters in its name. But La Pona's value is not only hydrological, it captures approximately 2,228 tons of carbon dioxide per year and provides diverse habitat for urban wildlife. Its struggle to remain a protected area highlights the tension between development and conservation, making it a symbol of how natural resources work silently beneath our feet. 31. Baja California, the peninsula that was mistaken for a mythical island. For centuries, the first European explorers believed Baja California was an island separated from the continent, giving rise to legends about warrior women and lands full of riches. This geographic error originated from the perception that the Gulf of California was open to the Pacific without a land connection, and it was reflected in old maps that still confuse historians and cartographers. Today, the peninsula surprises with an enormous diversity of landscapes, from deserts almost without water to rocky coasts and beautiful bays. Its unique geography and ecosystems make it a unique place, full of natural contrasts that attract both tourists and researchers. Additionally, Baja California is part of extraordinary marine migrations, such as the gray whales that cross thousands of kilometers from the Arctic to the warm waters of the Gulf of California to reproduce, a phenomenon that connects the biodiversity of the north and south of the peninsula and amazes scientists and visitors each year. 30. Baja California Sur, the largest whale sanctuary in the world. In Baja California Sur is the El Vizcaíno Whale Sanctuary, declared a Natural World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Every year, gray whales migrate from the Arctic to give birth in the warm lagoons of the state, accompanied by dolphins, turtles, and a wide variety of birds using the wetlands for rest and feeding. The extraordinary fact is that this sanctuary covers more than 550,000 hectares, becoming an ecological refuge amid the peninsula's desert. Visitors can witness the natural ritual of the whales, a unique spectacle in the world that combines beauty and science. This place demonstrates how marine life and the desert can coexist in balance. Baja California Sur not only offers paradisiacal beaches, but also protects critical ecosystems that require decades of conservation against human and environmental threats. 29. Campeche, the pirate enclave with almost impregnable walls. San Francisco de Campeche built walls and fortresses that resisted almost all pirate attacks for centuries, protecting strategic trade routes of New Spain. The walls, with 4 main gates and multiple interconnected fortresses, were designed to make any looting almost impossible. This defensive system made Campeche a historical rarity, a fortified city that managed to maintain its security even against the most feared pirates, like Laurent de Graaf, who destroyed nearby settlements without being able to breach its walls. Furthermore, there are legends about secret tunnels connecting mansions with points outside the city, adding mystery and historical appeal. Today, the walls are a symbol of colonial engineering and resistance to constant attacks. 28. Chiapas, the Maya city that still holds secrets beneath the jungle. In the jungle of Chiapas is Sacbalan, the land of the white jaguar, an ancient Maya capital that resisted the Spanish for more than a century before being abandoned. This city was home to the Lacandon Chol, who maintained their independence until the 17th century. Its location had been forgotten until recently. Thanks to archaeological studies and ancient documents, it has been partially reconstructed, revealing a nearly forgotten history and the complexity of this civilization. The difficult access through the jungle allowed its inhabitants to preserve traditions and social structures even after the fall of other Maya cities. Sacbalan shows that much of the Maya history in Chiapas is still buried, waiting to be discovered. 27. Chihuahua, the desert that blooms under the storm. In northern Chihuahua, the Samalayuca desert bloom occurs after unusual storms. Thousands of flowers emerge almost instantly, creating a fleeting and colorful spectacle before the sun dries them. Each bloom is unpredictable and lasts only a few days, making it an extraordinary natural event. These seeds have remained latent for years, germinating only with the exact combination of moisture and temperature. The bloom attracts migratory birds and pollinators, generating a concentrated life cycle that temporarily transforms the desert into a vibrant ecosystem. Moreover, dunes up to 200 meters high interact with humidity to accelerate the appearance of flowers, creating a unique visual effect. Each event is different, making Samalayuca a place where life defies aridity with an ephemeral display of biodiversity. 26. Mexico City, the underground city that no one visits. Beneath the historic center of Mexico City lies a network of tunnels from the Templo Mayor that connected temples, palaces, and markets. Besides transport and ceremonies, they served as drainage and water storage systems, showcasing advanced Mexica engineering. Some sections reach more than 10 meters deep and feature murals and reliefs with little-known historical and mythological episodes. The tunnels allowed priests and nobles to move discreetly, ensuring the privacy of rituals that could last all night. Surprisingly, much of this underground city remains unexplored. Recent studies suggest there might be a main chamber still undiscovered, a ceremonial space larger than the visible Templo Mayor above ground, hiding secrets that challenge known history. 25. Coahuila, the mountain that moves with the winds. In the Sierra de Arteaga, the hill known as El Sótano del Diablo generates an acoustic effect where strong winds produce sounds similar to roars or moans. The shape of the rocks amplifies the wind, creating resonances audible for kilometers. The sound changes depending on the wind's intensity and direction, and during specific storms it can be so powerful that some animals avoid the area. Local legends talk about protective spirits, although geologists confirm it is a rare and perfectly explainable natural phenomenon. This place attracts explorers and photographers due to its combination of mystery, sound, spectacle, and natural beauty. The rock formations offer unique panoramic views, making Sótano del Diablo an extraordinary and fascinating place in the natural world. 24. Colima, the volcano that creates its own climate. The Colima volcano, also called the fire volcano, is not only one of the most active in Mexico, but also possesses a particular atmospheric phenomenon. Eruptions generate ash clouds that can temporarily alter the local climate, creating light ash rains or sudden temperature changes kilometers away. This behavior means farmers and residents must always be prepared for phenomena combining volcanic activity and meteorology unpredictably. The striking fact is that these moderate eruptions have formed unique ecosystems on the volcano's slopes where plants and animals have adapted to receive ash regularly. For example, certain ferns and lichens grow only in areas where ash falls recurrently, and migratory birds use these microhabitats for nesting, and taking advantage of the extraordinary fertility of volcanic soil. Moreover, scientists have studied how smoke and ash columns act as local precipitation catalysts, a phenomenon observed in few active volcanoes worldwide. This makes Colima volcano a natural laboratory where geology, climatology, and ecology interact, showing that an active volcano can be more than a simple risk. It is also an engine of life and environmental transformation. 23. Durango, the city that preserves the most starry sky in Mexico. In Durango, specifically in the Sierra de Nombre de Dios area, there is a little-known phenomenon. This region has one of the clearest and darkest night skies in Mexico. This allows observing stars, planets, and the Milky Way like in very few places in the country. The combination of altitude, low light pollution, and dry climate creates an almost perfect astronomical setting, ideal for scientific observation and night photography. What is impressive is that even within the city of Durango itself, unique astronomical events can be seen when conditions are optimal, such as meteor showers or planetary conjunctions. This makes the region a privileged spot for amateur and professional astronomers seeking to document phenomena difficult to observe from more illuminated states. Additionally, this area houses archaeological remains of pre-Hispanic cultures that, according to recent studies, were aligned with specific celestial bodies, suggesting ancient communities already exploited Durango's clear sky to create precise agricultural and ceremonial calendars. This fusion of astronomy and culture makes Durango a place where history and cosmos meet surprisingly, offering a visual and cultural spectacle few know. At 22, State of Mexico, the lake that keeps secrets beneath its waters. In the municipality of Texcoco, there is a lake that used to be one of the most extensive in Mexico, but today is famous for its archaeological secrets. Beneath its waters remain remains of ancient causeways and pre-Hispanic temples of the Mexica Empire, some only recently discovered thanks to underwater scanning technologies. Researchers claim many of these structures are aligned with solstices and equinoxes, demonstrating that the lake was not only a natural resource but also a major ceremonial center. The amazing thing is, the lake's water still hides channels and artificial roads that allowed the Mexica to move quickly between islands and villages, revealing an engineering level rarely appreciated outside specialized studies. This phenomenon also suggests much of the region's history remains literally submerged, waiting to be rediscovered by archaeologists and explorers. Furthermore, recent findings have shown artifacts and ritual offerings under the water, indicating the lake was a sacred space where ceremonies were performed to encourage land fertility and balance agricultural cycles. This lake, which seems calm on the surface, is actually an underwater archive of the Mexica civilization, a place where each meter of water contains stories few know and continue to fascinate scientists and curious alike. 21. Guanajuato, the city where alleys hide vampire legends. In Guanajuato City, the underground alleys and historic tunnels are famous not only for their beauty but also for the legends surrounding them. One of the most curious is the story of the Casa de la Valenciana, where it is said that during the colonial era, secret rituals linked to mining societies were practiced, and some workers reported seeing ghostly figures moving through the tunnels, earning them the nickname Vampires of the Alley. What's striking is that these tales are not mere legends. Historical research has documented that mining exploitation generated gas conditions and reflected light that could create optical and acoustic illusions, reinforcing myths among miners and inhabitants. Each tunnel and alley seems to have its own specter, and 18th century records show reports of shadows roaming the mines at night, making the city a place where history, science, and mystery cross in a fascinating way. Moreover, Guanajuato's underground architecture is unique. The tunnels serve to drain mine water and allow uninterrupted pedestrian flow, but simultaneously created spaces that captured strange echoes and reflections, producing visual phenomena that still amaze visitors today. This intertwining of engineering, history, and legend makes Guanajuato a place where every alley has its own story, many so impactful they seem taken from a fantastic tale. 20. Guerrero, the cave that sings at dawn. In the Chilapa de Alvarez region, there is a cave locally known as Cueva del Silbido, Whistling Cave. Famous because at dawn, the first rays of sun and wind generate an acoustic effect, producing sounds similar to an ethereal song. This phenomenon is due to the particular shape of the rocks and internal resonances, but what makes it unique is that the song changes slightly each day depending on wind direction and cave temperature. What is fascinating is that local inhabitants attribute spiritual meaning to it. It is said the cave's sounds announce good omens for agriculture or fishing, and those who listen carefully can interpret symbolic messages from the environment. Recent research has confirmed that the cave's natural acoustics produce frequencies resembling the songs of certain birds, but amplified so perfectly they sound like human voices. Also, the cave is a refuge for endemic fauna that has adapted to the acoustic phenomenon, including bats and small rodents that respond synchronously to the natural song. This place combines science, mystery, and tradition, showing how Guerrero guards natural and cultural secrets that few know, turning the cave into a space where nature and myth intertwine impressively. 19. Hidalgo, the bridge that defies time. In the municipality of Real del Monte, Hidalgo, there is a colonial bridge known as Puente de las Animas, Bridge of Souls, whose history goes far beyond its structural function. Built in the 18th century over a river that now flows underground, the bridge was designed to withstand extreme floods and remains intact despite earthquakes and heavy rains that have affected the region for over 300 years. What is striking is that historical records show the bridge as the setting for rituals and local legends, where stories were told of spirits appearing to night travelers. Its architectural design is so solid that today it's studied by engineers seeking to understand how colonial builders combined technique, aesthetics, and resistance, creating structures lasting even against extreme natural phenomena. Additionally, the area around the bridge contains remains of mines and ancient roads used by Real del Monte miners, making this site a crucible of history, engineering, and legend. Every stone and arch of the Puente de las Animas holds stories revealing how colonial architecture served not only to transport people, but also to protect the memory and culture of a region with deep roots. 18. Jalisco, the forest where the earth boils beneath your feet. In Jalisco, within Nevado de Colima National Park, there are zones of geothermal activity where the earth emits steam and heat constantly, creating small fumaroles and hot soils amid an apparently normal forest. The surprising thing is these areas are surrounded by dense vegetation, and visitors can see vapor rising among ferns and conifers, as if the earth silently breathed fire. What is striking is that these fumaroles are not recent accidents. Geological studies show that underground activity is part of an active but stable volcanic system, allowing heat release without causing immediate eruptions. This phenomenon has influenced local flora, with some species developing special adaptations to withstand the constant heat and humidity generated by the vapor, creating a unique microecosystem. Moreover, this area has historically been used by local communities to harness earth heat in medicinal practices and rituals, showing how the interaction between geology and human culture can generate traditions lasting centuries. Nevado de Colima is not only a natural spectacle, but a living laboratory of geothermal energy, ecology, and culture, where every step on the ground can reveal secrets hidden beneath the surface. 17. Michoacan, the lake that breathes fire. Near the town of Tzintzuntzan, Michoacan, there is an extraordinary natural phenomenon in Lake Pátzcuaro. Small methane gas bubbles emerge from the bottom and under certain conditions ignite spontaneously upon contact with oxygen, creating the illusion that the lake breathes fire. This phenomenon has been recorded since pre-Hispanic times and was interpreted by the Purépechas as a portal between the world of the living and the spirits, fueling legends about mysterious lights appearing over the water at night. What fascinates is that the phenomenon does not occur uniformly. Bubbles emerge at specific points depending on the concentration of decomposed organic matter at the bottom, generating a constantly changing spectacle. The fire's intensity varies by season, and on moonless nights, the lake seems to literally burn, illuminating its shores with orange reflections floating on the surface. This phenomenon has attracted scientists, photographers, and tourists interested in documenting a natural event combining geology, chemistry, and cultural tradition. Moreover, the lake and its surroundings serve as a reminder of how the interaction between natural elements and human beliefs has created one of Mexico's most surprising and little-known landscapes. 16. Morelos, the waterfall that changes color. In the municipality of Tepoztlán, Morelos, there is a waterfall known as El Salto de San Juan, famous for changing its hue throughout the day depending on light, shadow, and water mineralization. In the morning, the water reflects an intense blue. At noon, it turns emerald green, and at sunset, it acquires golden flashes seemingly impossible to capture in photography. This effect results from the combination of dissolved minerals and solar refraction, creating a unique visual spectacle that attracts visitors and artists. What's surprising is that the waterfall is notable not only for its colors, but also for its history. The region's ancient inhabitants considered it a sacred place where purification rituals and offerings to local deities were performed. It is said those who drank its waters could receive spiritual and physical protection, and these traditions have been maintained symbolically to this day. Additionally, the waterfall is located within a micro-ecosystem rich in biodiversity, including endemic flora and fauna species dependent on the place's constant humidity. This corner of Morelos combines nature, science, and culture, showing that an apparently simple visual phenomenon can hide a web of history and ecology few have explored in depth. Before continuing, remember to subscribe and leave your like to keep discovering the most amazing and surprising geography throughout Latin America. 15. Nayarit, the island where turtles multiply. On the coast of Nayarit, within the Marietas Islands Reserve, there is a secret beach called Playa del Amor, where each year thousands of sea turtles arrive to nest. The impressive aspect is not only the number, but also that the sand on this beach contains minerals that accelerate egg incubation, allowing the hatchlings to emerge synchronously, increasing their survival chances against predators. This ecological phenomenon has been studied by biologists worldwide, who have confirmed that the density of hatchlings and the island's microclimate make this site one of the most important for marine turtle conservation in the Pacific. The combination of mineralized sand, constant temperature, and absence of natural predators creates an almost perfect habitat few beaches can offer. Moreover, the Marietas Islands are home to endemic species adapted to life in small, isolated spaces, including birds and crustaceans that interact directly with the turtles' arrival. This corner of Nayarit demonstrates how nature can generate extraordinary life conditions in seemingly remote and fragile places. 14. Nuevo León, the mountain that seems to float. In the municipality of Santiago Nuevo León is Cerro de la Silla, but beyond its iconic silhouette, there is a unique visual phenomenon at certain times of day and from specific angles. The mountain appears to float above the valley due to the combination of morning fog, sunlight, and geographic perspective. This optical effect has been observed for decades by locals and visitors who say that when looking at the mountain from the road to Monterey, the illusion is that it is suspended in air. What is fascinating is that the perception is not uniform. It depends on temperature, humidity, and wind intensity, so each day can produce a completely different image. This phenomenon has inspired urban legends about protective mountain spirits and traveler tales claiming to have seen ghostly figures projected on the fog, reinforcing the place's mystical character. Additionally, the mountain shelters unique flora and fauna, including endemic cactus species and birds adapted to the microclimate created by ascending air currents. This place combines geography, optics, and ecology so surprisingly that the mountain is not only a symbol of Nuevo León, but an example of how nature can play with our perception and create striking visual phenomena. 13. Oaxaca, the city that breathes colors. In Oaxaca de Juarez, the tradition of the urban mosaic of colors is not only aesthetic. The red, blue, yellow, and orange painted facades have a thermal effect regulating house interior temperatures and preventing heat accumulation on the hottest days. This system, empirically developed by generations of local artisans, demonstrates how color can become a functional, sustainable architecture tool. What's surprising is that each street seems to have its own palette, and color patterns depend not only on aesthetics but also on sun exposure, wind direction, and facade orientation, making the city a living laboratory of art and nature interaction. Visitors touring Oaxaca feel an immediate visual and emotional effect as colors seem to vibrate with daylight and change according to the season. Moreover, this urban tradition has deep roots. Colors were also used to mark economic activities, religious festivals, and community rituals, turning each facade into a coded visual message. Oaxaca is not only famous for its cuisine and culture, but also for how its architecture and colors create a cultural and natural phenomenon that few places in the world can combine so perfectly. 12. Puebla, the mountain that touches the clouds. In Puebla, Popocatépetl volcano is known for its volcanic activity, but little known is that certain formations on its slopes produce permanent clouds that seem to rest on the mountain, creating an effect of floating altitude that constantly changes with winds and temperature. This phenomenon occurs in a specific area near Amacamaca, where the interaction between orography and humidity generates unique microclimates, with local precipitation not seen elsewhere nearby. What's striking is that these clouds also influence the zone's plant and animal life, creating ecosystems where mosses, ferns, and endemic birds thrive thanks to constant humidity. Meteorological research has documented that these microclimates help regulate local atmospheric pressure, generating rainfall patterns fundamental for regional agriculture for centuries. Additionally, the area around Popocatépetl contains archaeological remains and pre-Hispanic routes integrated with the volcano's geography, revealing how ancient cultures observed and utilized these natural phenomena. Puebla thus becomes a place where geology, ecology, and history combine to create landscapes that seem from a fantasy world, accessible only to those who know how to look beyond the surface. 11. Querétaro, the aqueduct that defied gravity. In Querétaro, the city aqueduct with its 74 monumental arches is not only an impressive architectural achievement, but its design allowed water to be transported from springs more than 2 kilometers away without modern pumps, using only gravity and a carefully calculated slope. The surprising fact is that this structure has endured over 300 years, earthquakes, and urban changes, remaining practically intact and functional as a testimony to colonial engineering. What's striking is that each arch has exact proportions, allowing even weight distribution, a technique still studied in structural engineering today. Moreover, the aqueduct not only supplied water to the population, but also symbolized Querétaro's economic and cultural power during the vice-regal era, serving as a reference point for ceremonies and processions. Additionally, tunnels and hidden chambers have been found beneath the arches, originally used for maintenance, storage, and surveillance, making the aqueduct a multifunctional work combining architecture, engineering, and urban strategy. This place shows how history and science can coexist in a single monument, offering design and resistance lessons that continue to amaze its students. 10. Quintana Roo, the cenote that sings. In the Riviera Maya near Tulum is Cenote Xunanha, famous for a natural acoustic phenomenon. When submerged in its waters, visitors can hear sounds resembling underwater songs, generated by bubbles trapped in walls and stalactites vibrating on contact with water. This effect creates a unique and mystical experience where the sea note seems to speak to those who dive in. What's striking is that these vibrations change depending on the swimmer's depth and position, creating a different experience each time. Local legends say the Maya performed rituals in this cenote to hear messages from the gods, interpreting the sounds as divine signals and consulting the sea note before making important community decisions. Furthermore, the phenomenon occurs only in certain underground chambers, making each visit an exclusive discovery. The combination of natural acoustics, crystal clear water, and cultural heritage makes Zunanha one of the most surprising cenotes in Quintana Roo, offering a spectacle that few tourists have the fortune to fully experience. 9. San Luis Potosi, the cave that breathes light. In the Huasteca Potosina, there is the Cave of Swallows, famous not only for its size but for an extraordinary natural phenomenon. At dawn, the sun's rays filter in at a precise angle, illuminating the cave interior as if it breathed light. This effect, lasting only a few minutes, reveals stalactites and stalagmites of impossible shapes, highlighting textures usually remaining in the shadows. What's impressive is that this spectacle depends not only on the sun's position but also on humidity and the activity of swallows nesting at the entrance, whose shadows and movements create changing light effects. This generates a unique sensory experience where nature combines geology, fauna, and astronomy in a single instant. Moreover, the cave has been used since pre-Hispanic times as a refuge and ritual site. Archaeologists have found pottery fragments and petroglyphs showing the light phenomenon may have had spiritual meaning for ancient inhabitants, interpreted as a portal between the earthly and spiritual worlds. 8. Sinaloa, the river that sings underground. In Sinaloa, near El Fuerte, there is an underground stretch of the Mocarito River where an astonishing acoustic phenomenon occurs. The water flow generates harmonic notes when passing through narrow channels and natural grottos, creating a sound locals call the river's song. This natural phenomenon's intensity and musicality make the river sound like a giant instrument played by nature itself. What's striking is that these notes change depending on water level and pressure, and the full song is heard only during certain times of the year. Inhabitants say listening to the river produces calm and mental clarity, and scientists consider it a natural laboratory of fluvial acoustic resonance unique in the country. Moreover, the grottos around the river hide cave paintings and remains of indigenous settlements, indicating the river was observed and probably interpreted as a spiritual phenomenon by ancient communities, combining history, culture, and nature in a surprising way. 7. Sonora, the desert that boils from within. In the Altar Desert region in Sonora, there are thermal water deposits emerging through cracks, creating pools of steam and mini geysers that slowly boil on the arid surface. This little-known phenomenon offers not only a visual and sound spectacle, but also generates microhabitats where plants grow adapted to extreme heat and mineral content in the water. What's impressive is that these natural geysers are not permanent. They appear and disappear depending on underground pressure and season, making each visit an unexpected event. Geologists and biologists study these spots to understand how life can adapt to extreme conditions and how thermal water flows affect desert geology. Furthermore, local communities have historically used these waters for healing rituals and medicinal baths, creating a unique cultural connection between geology and human tradition, demonstrating how the most extreme nature can also be a source of life and ritual. 6. Tabasco, the forest that walks on water. In Tabasco, specifically in the Pantano de Xentla, an extraordinary phenomenon occurs. The extensive mangroves and ceiba trees appear to float on water during the rainy season when river levels and floods cover the swamp soils. This ecosystem is one of the most biodiverse wetlands in the country, hosting birds, reptiles, and fish uniquely adapted to an environment that literally changes constantly. What's surprising is that this phenomenon creates natural channels like aquatic roads, through which inhabitants and explorers can navigate without disturbing the vegetation. Local communities interpret this floating forest appearance as a symbol of life and renewal, and biologists highlight these wetlands' role in regulating floods and acting as the region's natural lungs, by retaining carbon and filtering water. Moreover, the Pantano de Centla harbors endemic and endangered species dependent on this flooding cycle, showing how Tabasco's nature creates mobile landscapes where life adapts remarkably to water and time, combining beauty and science in one place. 5. Tamaulipas, the beach that disappears and reappears. In Tamaulipas, Miramar Beach near Ciudad Madero presents a unique phenomenon. During certain tides and seasons, large sections of sand disappear underwater and then re-emerge, generating landscapes that completely change within hours. This effect is caused by underwater currents and sediment dynamics of the Gulf of Mexico, surprising geologists for its speed and cyclical repetition. What's striking is this phenomenon affects local fauna. Turtles, migratory birds, and fish adapt to sudden beach changes, using the emerging sand for nesting or resting. Local fishermen also take advantage of these cycles to locate fish banks, showing how nature and human life adjust to this tide game. Furthermore, the beach has legends about sunken ships and buried treasures that reappear with the sand, feeding local imagination and popular culture. Miramar is not only a tourist spot, but an example of how natural dynamics can create unpredictable and surprising scenarios within minutes. 4. Tlaxcala, the volcano that never sleeps. In Tlaxcala, La Malinche volcano is known for its imposing presence, but few know its underground activity generates gas and heat emissions felt even on trails far from the summit. Although considered inactive, recent studies have detected minor magmatic movements that could affect surrounding microclimates, creating zones where flora grows differently due to soil temperature and minerals. What's surprising is some endemic plant species grow only in these underground activity zones, adapting to humidity and heat emitted by the volcano. Additionally, local communities have used these areas for rituals and agricultural practices, taking advantage of the special soil fertility not found elsewhere in Tlaxcala. This volcano shows how geological activity can remain hidden to the naked eye, subtly but constantly transforming the land, and how human cultures have adapted to create unique agricultural, ceremonial, and natural landscapes. 3. Veracruz, the cave that breathes water. In Veracruz near Coatepec is the Salto Cave, where an underground current constantly emits water, creating a phenomenon that makes the cave seem to breathe liquid. This natural flow maintains the place's humidity, feeds streams, and generates internal waterfalls that vary intensity with the rainy season. What's impressive is these underground currents have formed stalactite and stalagmite structures reflecting light changeably, creating a magical visual spectacle. Also, the cave houses bats and endemic species dependent on constant humidity and water flow for survival, making this space an autonomous and delicate ecosystem. Ancient local inhabitants already knew these caves and considered them sacred, performing rituals to harness the water's breathing for fertility and prosperity. Thus, Veracruz offers not only natural beauty but a historical and cultural connection with extraordinary geological phenomena. 2. Yucatan, the peninsula that breathes cenotes. In Yucatan, the peninsula seems like a gigantic lung of underground water, with thousands of cenotes functioning as natural vents of an enormous karst system. What's striking is many cenotes are connected to subterranean rivers and caves that may extend for kilometers without surface visibility, creating a secret and complex hydrological system few fully know. These cenotes not only serve as water reserves, but also generate unique microclimates with flora and fauna adapted to extreme darkness and humidity. Some cenotes contain species found nowhere else on the planet, making Yucatan a natural laboratory of hidden biodiversity. Moreover, the ancient Maya already knew these systems and used them as water sources and sacred rituals. Their strategic location allowed the development of entire cities around them, showing these water lungs are not only impressive geology but the basis of civilization and culture enduring for millennia. 1. Zacatecas, the mine that shines underground. In Zacatecas, the El Edén mine is famous for its colonial history, but few know its galleries contain mineral veins that reflect natural light surprisingly, creating an effect as if the mine glows from within. These reflections are caused by minerals like pyrite and quartz, producing golden and silver flashes when exposed to artificial or natural light entering through entrances. What's striking is that historical workers reported some galleries emitting their own light before lamps arrived, explained by intense reflection in concentrated veins and